I am 87 years old, and I am currently sitting on a mountain of regrets. Today, I realized I spent 10,000 days of my life being robbed in broad daylight, and I didn't say a word. I wasn't robbed of my money. I was robbed of my peace. If you are in your 20s or 30s, you are trapped in a cage of your own pride, and it is eating your soul from the inside. I'm going to show you the things that took me 80 years to learn. These are the rules that will make you untouchable. Listen closely, because if you don't, you will spend the next 50 years chasing ghosts, just like I did. When I was 30, I thought my intellect was a weapon. I lived in a world of black and white. If someone said something stupid, I felt a physical itch to fix it. I thought I was educating them. I thought I was a warrior for the truth. I remember sitting in meetings, my heart pounding, waiting for someone to make a mistake just so I could pounce on it. I wanted to be seen as the smartest man in the room. I wanted the applause. But here is the truth I was too proud to see. A fool does not want the truth. They want an audience. They want to drag you into their drama because their own lives are so empty that they need your reaction to feel alive. Every time you engage with someone who isn't interested in growth, you aren't teaching them. You are joining them. You are descending into the mud, and the pig loves the mud. The pig is comfortable there. You, however, leave covered in filth and wonder why your soul feels heavy. Think about the last time you argued with a stranger online or a bitter relative at dinner. Did they change their mind? No. They just dug their heels in deeper. And you? You carried that conversation in your head for 3 days. You replayed what you should have said while you were trying to eat, while you were trying to sleep, while you were supposed to be loving the people who actually matter. You weren't a warrior. You were a volunteer for misery. I lost a decade of peace to a neighbor I hated. We argued over fences, over grass, over politics. We would stand at the edge of our properties, faces red, shouting about things that don't even exist anymore. I won every single argument. I had better logic. I had better facts. I had the law on my side. And yet, every night, I went to bed with a racing heart and a sour stomach. My wife would look at me and say, "Is it worth it? Is the grass more important than your smile?" I would snap at her, too, because I was so poisoned by the conflict. He slept like a baby. He didn't care. I won, but I lost my sleep. I lost my kindness. I lost my presence. I was physically in my living room, but my mind was out on that fence line, fighting a ghost. That is the trap. You think your rightness protects you. It doesn't. It poisons you from the inside out until you become the very thing you claim to despise. I want you to listen closely now, because what I'm about to tell you are the bricks I used to rebuild my sanity when I finally got tired of fighting. These aren't just ideas. They are life support systems. The first thing you must master is the power of the sentence, "You might be right." This is the most powerful sentence in the human language. When a fool approaches you with a ridiculous claim, maybe they tell you the sky is green, or that your entire life's work is a failure, don't counter it. Don't pull out your phone to Google facts. Don't raise your voice to explain the complex nuances of reality. Just look them in the eye, nod slowly, and say, "You might be right." It kills the conflict instantly. It's like taking the oxygen away from a fire. They are standing there, waiting for the hit, waiting for the friction they need to keep their ego burning. When you give them no resistance, they stumble. It doesn't mean they are right. In your heart, you know the truth. But by saying those 4 words, you are making a choice. You are saying that you value your afternoon, your blood pressure, and your mental clarity more than their education. You are not their teacher. You are a man who has better places to be. You have to realize that your energy is a finite currency. Think of your peace like a bank account. Every morning, you wake up with a limited amount of emotional capital. Every argument, every correction, every moment spent proving yourself to someone who doesn't even like you is a withdrawal. Most people are walking around with a zero balance, emotionally bankrupt, wondering why they feel anxious, burned out, and depressed. They are spending their $100 energy on 5-cent people. Why are you giving your precious life force to someone you wouldn't even invite to your house for tea? If it won't matter in 5 years, don't give it more than 5 minutes. Save that energy for your craft, for your family, for the quiet moments of joy that actually build a life. And remember, silence is not weakness. It's mastery. The world tells you that the person who talks the loudest is the leader. They're wrong. The loudest person is usually the most insecure. The person who can stay silent while being misunderstood is the most powerful person in the room. Control over your tongue is control over your destiny. When you feel that heat rising in your chest, that urge to defend yourself against a lie, take a breath. Let the lie hang in the air. It doesn't change who you are. A lion doesn't turn around when a small dog barks. He keeps walking because he knows he's a lion. You must accept that some people are committed to misunderstanding you. Their brain is a filter that only lets in what reinforces their ego. If they need to see you as the villain to feel like a hero, no amount of logic will change that. You cannot break that filter. Only life can. Let life be their teacher. You have better things to do. Your job is not to be understood by everyone. Your job is to live a life that is worth understanding. Sometimes distance is better than disrespect. If someone continuously brings chaos into your space, you don't owe them an explanation. You don't need to hash it out one last time. You don't need a final confrontation to get closure. Closure is something you give yourself by deciding you've had enough. You just need to move, quietly, without a scene. The highest form of self-respect is walking away from where you aren't being fed. I spent years trying to fix broken people, trying to argue them into being better. All it did was break me. You cannot build a garden on toxic soil. Walk away, find better ground, and don't look back. It happened to me when I was 65. I was in a grocery store, minding my own business, and a young man bumped into me with his cart. He started shouting immediately. He called me an old fossil. He blamed me for being in his way, even though I was standing still. He was looking for a fight. He wanted me to yell back so he could release all the anger he had stored up from his own miserable life. Old me, the man who wasted 10,000 days, would have shouted back. I would have demanded an apology. I would have told him I've lived longer and deserved respect. I would have stood my ground until the manager came. But I looked at him, really looked at him, and I saw a man who was drowning in his own bitterness. His eyes were full of a fire that had nothing to do with me. I realized that if I fought him, I was just jumping into the dark water with him. I simply smiled, a genuine smile, patted his shoulder and said, "I'm sorry I got in your way, son. I hope your day gets better." The look on his face, it was pure shock. He was paralyzed. He had no more weapons because I refused to be his target. I walked to my car, and for the first time in my life, I felt light. I felt like I had discovered a secret superpower. I didn't have to carry his anger home. I didn't have to tell my wife about the rude man at the store. I left it right there on the sidewalk for him to deal with. It wasn't my burden to carry. Your peace is your only true possession. Your house can burn, your money can vanish, your health can fail, but the stillness in your mind is yours to keep if you protect it. Why would you give it away to a stranger who means nothing to you? Why would you let a fool dictate the weather of your soul? I don't have much time left. When you get to my age, you realize that life isn't a series of achievements or arguments won. It's a series of breaths. And if your breaths are always ragged and angry, you've lived a poor life, no matter how much money is in your bank. I've seen men die with millions of dollars, but with hearts so full of old grudges that they couldn't even say goodbye to their children in peace. They were still fighting wars that ended 40 years ago. If you spend your 20s and 30s fighting every fool you meet, you'll arrive at 80 with a heart full of scar tissue and a mind full of regrets. You'll realize that the people you were trying to beat have been gone for decades, and yet they still live in your head because you gave them a lease. You became their landlord, and they've been living there rent-free, stealing your joy. Protect your peace, not because you're better than others, but because your life is too short to be a trash can for someone else's garbage. Be the man who knows the truth but feels no need to scream it. Be the woman who sees the trap and walks around it with a smile. The greatest victory isn't making someone else admit they were wrong. It's being okay with them thinking they're right, while you go off and enjoy the sun on your face, the smell of the rain, and the laughter of those you love. I've shared this because I don't want you to wait until you're 87 to start living. I don't want you to wake up one day and realize you've been a spectator in your own life because you were too busy reacting to everyone else. If this spoke to that quiet place inside you, it means you're ready to stop fighting and start growing. You're ready to reclaim those 10,000 days I lost. The world will always have fools. It will always have noise. But you can be the silence. Stay with me on this journey. We have many more lessons to uncover together about love, about loss, and about what it really means to be a man in a world that has forgotten how to be still. Subscribe, and let's protect that peace. You owe it to the person you are going to become.